Suit up, strap in, warm the tires, and leave on yellow. Time for the MitsuTimes podcast. Presented by MitsuTimes.org, the home of the fastest Mitsubishi cars. With your host, Josh.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Josh from MitsuTimes. Today, my guest is the man himself, Mr. Jeremy Keys, the owner and driver of the Killer Bee Evo that you see tearing it up at the Shootout. How you doing today, Jeremy?
Doing great, man. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. I'm still riding the high of the Shootout a little bit. I wish we could do that more than once a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing, man. Riding the high, and then also kind of eating that hard pill.
Yeah.
At the end of the Shootout, but had a great time. Man, it's always great to see you catch up and stuff. Since you're right, we only do it once a year, So it's good to see all the guys and stuff. I mean, I think 99% of my friends on Facebook are guys that I've met at the Shootout or haven't ever met. You know what I mean? Just Evo enthusiasts and stuff So even this year, I met a couple that I've probably been friends with on Facebook for probably 4 or 5 years, and this was the first year that I actually got to meet them because either I can't make the Shootout or they can't make it and stuff. So I got to be introduced to some quote unquote longtime friends.
Yep.
While I was out there this year, so it was a great event.
Something about the tension of the stock appearing class just makes for a red light final every year, it seems.
Yeah. God bless Mike Rubin. I mean, what a great dude. We raced him last year, and he definitely had the fastest car last year. I mean, he had us beat for sure. We were literally stressed out the whole time last year, and my race mate Matt Franks, they were in the semifinals. I was waiting for whoever the winner was, and old Mike Rubin red lit. And it was like, so we came up with a crappy name for him. I mean, he's a good dude. We talked back and forth, but we started calling him Red Light Rubin and stuff. And then, fast forward a whole year, and then not only does Matt red light against Mike in the semis, then we were talking mad shit in the pits. and then I got a little excited and red lit in the finals. So it was like, I guess, I guess we're the red light race team then. Damn.
You didn't let out though. Still gave him a race. I love that.
I mean, it was disheartening though. That I didn't realize what a hard pill to swallow that was, because I've raced all up and down the East Coast, and that's literally the first time I've ever red lit.
Oh wow!
And it was pretty devastating. It was fun at the end. I went and saw him. We watched the final races afterwards and stuff, and even at the end of the race, Mike ran over to my car and he's like, "What in the hell?" And I was like, "You know what, dude? I think we just owed you for last year." So
we had it coming.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
good
awesome.
Spirits, man. The RR team over there, those guys are great guys. I mean, and quite frankly, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been in the finals anyway. I mean, you saw us Friday night, ripped a whole trans out, C-case out, and one of their mechanics diagnosed I had a bad clutch top hat, and luckily those guys over there, Rafe, hooked me up with he just so happened to have a rebuilt spare on hand, and so slapped it in bright and early Saturday morning, and was back on the track by Saturday afternoon. So I mean, realistically, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been in the finals anyway. So, and that's what I like, man. That's the thing about the Shootout is, there's a lot of like drama and stuff that kind of surrounds the Shootout, depending on what group of people and hang out with. But for the racers, I think like the actual true racers, man, there's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of
absolutely
like Evo spirit and teams that are really just there to compete, have fun and stuff. So that's why, now that I'm retired and out of the military, like I'm going to be hard pressed not to make it every single year, even if it's just as a spectator. Like my race car's down, I'm going to go out there, support the Spec Ops race team
Right.
that goes out there, but I just love the environment and all that stuff. So yeah, it was a good year this year, but again, hard pill to eat there in the final.
Well, I mean, just the fact that you got it all back together, I think that really shows a testament to yourself. I know a lot of guys would have just thrown in the towel and said, well, that's my weekend.
Right. Well, and I had when I was there 2015, I was there trying to three-peat the stock appearing title because I won it in 2013, won it in 2015, 2014, came back in 2015 and had a catastrophic failure in my first qualifying round. And so, I mean, I know what it's like to get there, put all that work and effort into getting to the shootout, and then literally not being able to compete.
Yeah.
And stuff, and just looking at your car for another 3 days and stuff. So, yeah, there was no doubt that we were going to try to figure something out. Even if I had to, like, go get a new clutch altogether, throw it in there. But luckily it wasn't a trans issue.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we were going to fight until the very end. I mean, there was no quit in us until there was no other options. So.
And if you're from one of the 6 clutch companies that support the shootout, make sure next year you bring some extra parts.
Yeah, no kidding.
Golly.
I've been running Quartermaster for probably the last 4 or 5 years and stuff. And yeah, like I said, luckily old Rafe had a rebuilt one in his shop, or I'd have been screwed.
Well, Jeremy, let's talk about the setup on the beautiful Killer Bee Evo as it sits today.
Yeah, this has been a long work in progress. I bought the car in 2010, and when I bought it, there was like a couple little upgrades done to it. I actually looked at like probably 10 other cars. I looked at this car first, the Killer Bee first, and then it had some modifications on it, and I'm like, I don't know, who touched it. I looked at a bunch of others, and then actually wound up buying it. And from then, it's been kind of finding the weakest link, and then just building and going faster. So the way she sits now is she's a standard 2.0. She's got a Dover head with some GSCS3 cams in it. I, of course, run the almighty FP0 turbo. I have, so when Spec Ops Motorsports was a thing, we did some R&D for the FP0 when it came out, and when Toxic Fab was around, they made a single scroll flanged tubular exhaust manifold for it.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, so I have from what I know, the only Toxic Fab tubular manifold that is a single scroll for the FP0. And then I've got a dog box. I actually run a stock intake manifold, which is usually a surprise to people. Usually think they you need all that extra air and stuff. And what else, man? So I started Spec Ops Fabrication this year, kind of a spin-off of our team and stuff. So I made all the titanium parts that are on it. So it's got a titanium upper intercooler pipe, lower intercooler pipe, titanium full race exhaust, titanium 4-inch charge pipe, and some other titanium odds and ends and stuff. I've got a lot of one of the controversial things on the car, at least for some folks, is I've got a dry sump, a Magnus dry sump on it. And the reason why that's on there is the engine I had before we just recently built it, man. I would fill a catch can, like I'd do a quarter-mile run, and I'd fill a giant catch can with oil every single run.
Oh, no kidding.
I had so much crankcase pressure, and we tried venting it. We tried sealed catch cans. We tried sealed and vented catch cans. We tried venting the block. I mean, we went through like this whole myriad of things, man, and could never get the car not to fill up a catch can full of oil. And so we're just like, all right, well, I mean, you can't fix it one way, we'll fix it another way. So I kind of bit the big bullet and got the Magnus dry sump, and that thing is freaking amazing.
You think it's stuff. Are you saying it's controversial because of the stock appearing?
Because of the stock appearing.
Gotcha.
I've had a couple of people like it rubs them the wrong way. It's like there are rules in racing, right? So it's my belief that if you're a true racer, you read the rules and then you follow those rules to a T. You know what I mean? So It's like, if it doesn't say anything about an upgraded oiling system, then I can put whatever oiling system I want in it, And that's up and down the line. I mean, a lot of people think that these cars are built for like the Shootout's the only race of the year.
Right.
It's like, dude, I race like literally all year long.
Yeah, you guys are one of the few teams out there hitting it. Seems like every weekend.
Oh man, so the dry sump, it rubs a couple people the wrong way, and I don't know if it's, is it stock appearing? I don't know. Is freaking short route intercooler piping stock appearing? It's like you could go down the rabbit hole. Yeah, you know what I mean? You can go down the rabbit hole. Is a 4-inch intercooler stock appearing? It's not. So I mean, I don't know.
But you got to get the most out of the rules, though, just like you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, is the years go by, what people are doing with these cars and how fast they're getting. I post a 155 mile an hour slip with an FP0, and people are like, holy shit, how are stock frame turbos running low 9s at that type of speed? And it's
right.
Like, well, it's because with advances in understanding how to tune a car, I mean, I've got, I believe, one of the best tuners on the planet in Matt Franks, and so then me doing all the mechanic work on it and stuff, so we test and figure out what best works for the car. Every car is different, but we have been able to like go down. So if a dry sump makes my car run faster, then a dry sump is what it needs, because again, we tried a million other things to get the car to go faster safely, and it wound up being that was the next evolution of what the car needed.
Right. It's more so about reliability than it is about speed.
Well, especially when you're you're just a disabled vet, it's like my pockets aren't deep,
right.
What I mean? So like when I buy, it's
needs to last.
It's necessity, yeah, and it needs to last. I mean, when we tune the car, we, believe it or not, the car's tuned very conservatively. Like, it's got a lot more, in it, but man, we gotta make next weekend's race too. So, when we buy parts and install them, we got to make sure that they're the right ones, and I'm not buying the same part 5, 6, 7 times.
Right.
And stuff. So I'm very particular about what I buy, who I buy it from. I usually talk to the people. Like when I bought the sump, I mean, I called Magnus and I'm like, hey, this is, what do I need to do? This is my problem. What do you think? Don't try to sell me a part. What do you think? And they're like, I mean, to them, it was like, yeah, it makes sense that this would be your next option.
For sure.
And stuff. So,
and at least a company like Magnus, it's not going to just drag your chain around so they can put some money in their pocket.
Right, exactly. And that, I choose parts based on who owns the parts too. You can't, like Dan Mergenthaler, I run as much of his stuff, Evo spec stuff, as I possibly can, because he's a genuine dude. And, if I ever had a problem, which I've literally never have, that guy will go across the world to make it right. So people like that in this community, you need to support them as much as possible because they're doing it right the first time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Definitely. And to your point, they're standing behind the stuff they make. So you got to get behind those people.
Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much the car, man. I mean, I guess I can't say I've got the ILR no money shifter on there too. I mean, I can't forget my boy Hoy Tran out there and stuff. It goes back to, I had an incident in my daily driver where I money shifted and sent rods all through my trans, rock, and stuff. So, I can't believe that I raced the car now in retrospect without that shifter in it and stuff. But because I do race my other one every once in a while when I don't tell the wife. But now even the blue one's got an ILR shifter in it. So, but yeah, that's the car, man. She's went from when I bought it, I originally bought the car to be a show car.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. When I came to Fort Bragg in 2009. I was changing over from an infantry guy into special operations, and I had brought with me. I had a 1996 Eclipse. It had a 420 Alpha in it.
Oh yeah.
That I put a Treadstone turbo kit in it. And man, it was fast and furious. I mean, it had like a 20,000 watt stereo system in it, 7 TV screens. Like, it was obnoxious. And the neighborhood I moved into, Matt Franks lived in the neighborhood, and he had a black 2005 Evo 8. And so we, the DSM Evo, we became friends pretty quick. But then I realized, I was like, man, this car is fast, and even then I think he had like an FP red on it. So, but compared to my, 8 PSI little Eclipse, like, his car was a monster.
Felt like a rocket ship.
Yeah. So I was like, man, I need to be one of those. This, I wife and 3 kids and trying to, you can't haul them in an Eclipse. And so that was the sell to the wife was, I was like, babe, I get this 4-door car.
Right.
Got a little turbo in it, and, I'll still have a family car, but then I can also make my show car and stuff. So I did all the show car scenes around Fayetteville and stuff. And it wasn't until I was driving down Rayford Road. I think it had like a stock 8 turbo in it at the time. And this girl in a silver Evo pulled up next to me and started like revving. So I was like, oh man, I got her. I'm a dude. I got this awesome stock 8 turbo. This chick killed me on the streets.
No kidding.
Like, oh man. Come to find out, she had I think she had an FP black in it. And so I got home that night and I called Matt and I'm like, yo, this will never happen again. What do I need to do? And so that kind of started it. It went from a show car, put an FP red in it, got it used from one of the dudes that used to hang out with the Spec Ops Motorsports guys. And then I still never raced it, though. I still never took it to the track. It was still more of a car show thing, but I just didn't want to be beat by a girl on the street anymore. Well, we went to the track, the local track at Fayetteville, and my buddy Matt was racing. And the guys were like, man, take your car on the track, And I've never went from a dig, never did any launching and stuff like that.
Right.
And this 16-year-old kid that used to be a hang around, he showed up and he put a sticker on my car. You know, the sticker you buy when you when you go and do test and tune and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the 16-year-old kid's like, he's like, Jay, you have no excuses now. It's like, ah, crap. All right. I think I went out. I think I ran like an 11.5, 11.4 or something like that. But man, that's all it took.
Yep.
Then I was like, well, 11.4. What do I need to do to be a 10-second car and stuff? So yeah, that put the bug in me, man.
Just goes downhill from there.
Oh, yeah, yep. That was the bug and stuff. So since then, the car's been through a ton of transitions. It went from a red to a black because they were like, "There's no way you're going to get in the 10s." You know, because it's a full street car. I mean, It's always been a street car. So we put a black on it, and I got a 2.3 stroker motor in it from MA Performance. I abused the crap out of that motor for like 6 years. Never changed the rings, like I beat the crap out of it, and it stayed true all the way up until I just decided to go to a 2.0 when I got the FP0.
Wow.
And matter of fact, the 2.3 guts that were in the yellow car are now in my blue car.
Dang. It's really living on.
Oh, because I don't know what MA did and stuff, but yeah, I abused the crap out of that car, and that motor was awesome. So yeah, I had the FP Black, fastest. I finally broke into the 10s. September seems to be my lucky month. In 2012, I ran a 10.9, and
how'd that feel?
I tell you what, it was amazing. But once I hit the 10s, I quickly, like, I went from a 10.9, you know, and then you run a 10.8, and then you run a 10.7. And so we got the car all the way down to the fastest time I ever ran was a 10.0037. And I could not get the black into the 9s. Like, it didn't matter what we tried to do to the car. We tried adding timing. I got to the point where I was like, I don't care if we blow this motor up.
Just got to get a 9.
10.0037 was it. And that was right about the time I deployed right after that. And then one of my race mates back then, he had an FP Black, and he ran like a 9.997 while I was deployed. And I was like, you dirty.
That was back in the form days where people were really duking it out over those numbers.
Oh, man. So when I got home, you know, I had a little bit of deployment money in my pocket. And so that's when the 0 came out. And I was like, all right, well, it's the biggest stock frame turbo you can throw on the car, so let's do that. And then that was when September of 17 is when I ran my first 9. And then it's been a chase to the 8s since then.
Man. So I wanted to go back, Jeremy. You said it was between this yellow car and another car. Why was it had to be an Evo because of Matt Frank's Evo, or that was you looking at other cars at the time?
All right, so here's a dumb story, man. I'm going to tell on myself a little bit. So I had the Eclipse, and I also my wife had a van so we could carry all the kids and stuff in. Mm-hmm. And so I went fishing one night. I took the boat, used the van to carry the boat out. And while I was fishing, the keys for the van were in my sweater, and then the sweater wound up in the lake. And so it was like 2:00 in the morning, and my wife had to come get me. And at that time, my 3 kids were little, like 2 in a car seat, and then my oldest was old enough not to be in a car seat. But then there was my wife, and obviously you can't leave them at home alone. So my wife had to come get me in an Eclipse, because that was our only other car.
Oh.
And and again, it was like 2:00 in the morning. So they drove all the way, and I was like 2 hours away from the house fishing. And so my wife had to drive the 3 kids all the way up to get me. And then on the way home, I had to sit in the back seat of an Eclipse between 2 car seats so that my daughter could have the front seat with a seatbelt. And then my wife drove us home in that.
And that was the final straw.
That was it. I was like, we have to have a car that can hold 5 people. And again, Matt's car was, it was awesome. And I loved Evos from before when I had the Eclipse and stuff like that. It was just, but yeah, so that story was the final straw. So I told the wife, I was like, that's it. We're getting rid of this car, and I'm buying an Evo and stuff. So that's how.
See,
how that came about.
After being at Fort Bragg so long, I assumed once you guys got done with your training, they just gave you guys all Jeeps, because that's what it seems like.
I also have a 97 Jeep.
There it
Wrangler.
is.
The wife bought me the Jeep Wrangler as my retirement gift.
Okay.
And stuff.
So
I didn't have one.
Yeah. You waited.
Yeah, I waited. But that is a fact. If you're on Fort Bragg, you either have Challenger or damn Jeep. Yeah. I was supposed to go to school in Florida after I got out. I was going to go to a Roush Racing mechanic school with UTI.
Oh, killer.
And so the wife was like, hey, you can't be in Florida and not have, a Jeep. And I was like, well, you know what? That sounds exactly right. Whether it is or it isn't, it sounds exactly right. So, yeah, she bought me the Jeep, and then unfortunately I wasn't able to go because I had to have shoulder surgery, and then immediately followed up by a full knee replacement and stuff. So I got the Jeep, but wasn't able to go to the school and stuff. So,
well, Jeremy, I want to talk about where the name the Killer Bee comes from. Obviously, it's yellow, but also, the graphics and everything. It really pulls together a great brand, if that makes any sense. I got to know where you came up with the name.
So before the bee was on it, if you look back at 2012 and stuff, it used to have the taxi cab scallops on it. When I bought the car, it had the typical Sparko, the big list of stuff down the side of the fender.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then it had this scallop across the whole car that had Evolution 8 on the back of it. And so it always looked like a taxi cab, and I hated it because everyone would give me shit. Hey, can we get the taxi? And it's like, bro, it's not a taxi. Stop. And then we were out at the racetrack one day, and all of a sudden, man, there's this swarm of bees that were just hanging out at the car, and we couldn't get rid of them. And I can't remember which guy on the team back then was like, oh man, they just like the Killer Bee. And I was like, oh, I like that.
That's it,
the Killer Bee. And that's how it stuck, is some bee swarm hit us at the track one day, and they just would not leave the car alone and stuff. So we're like, yeah, the Killer Bee. And I've got pictures of it now, same thing. Bees, for some reason, love the car and stuff, and they'll come hang out. And the graphics for it, I'll probably get in trouble for this, but I stole that graphic from somewhere on the net. Like, I was looking at a bunch of quote unquote killer bees, and I didn't want one that looked like the Dodge type thing. I didn't want a super bee and stuff. And I found that one. It was like a bug killing place, some like Terminix or some place. And I saw it, I was like, man, that's a pretty cool ass bee. So I took that bee and I had one of my buddies kind of alter it enough that I wouldn't be straight stealing it. And then and that's where the bee on the car came from, which is weird because when I started Beeline Performance in 2018, I wanted a brand new bee. And so my daughter, who's pretty artistic, I told her, I was like, hey, I need a buff bee, but I want a turbo as a stinger. And so she actually came up with the Beeline bee, but that bee never made it to the car just because, I don't know, the bee on the car, it for some reason, it just fits how it looks and stuff. So I just haven't had, it looks perfect. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna transfer the Beeline bee on there and stuff. But yeah, the Killer Bee, she was literally born from bees trying to like catch a ride down the quarter mile. Like, we couldn't get rid of them.
That's awesome.
And stuff. So yeah, so it's stuck. Now everything's Killer Bee.
I love that. These days, everybody has a draggy. Well, there's a website called racemeanywhere.com. It has leaderboards for different types of vehicles that you can get added with just a draggy screenshot. There are also periodic events that use a different metric to rank the submissions sent during the event that have real payouts. These events could be a 60-foot, quarter mile, or a 60 to 130 mile per hour. Check out the website, make a profile, get your car or your cars added, and start making money from what you're already doing anyways at racemeanywhere.com. Those kind of stories like that where, you know, the nickname has a backstory that's, you know, really pulls the car together.
And again, I'm glad it did too, because I think that, you know, we took it and, you know, we started, I have a buddy who owns a tint shop. So he's the one that it's Invictus Aesthetics here in Fayetteville. And he got all the graphics for it. He did all the graphics for it. He did the honey bee comb down the side. He did all the yellow carbon fiber inlays inside the car. Like, once it really got a name, I went full nerd with it and just like encompassed the whole car in this bee theme. Yeah. That's
awesome. I couldn't love that anymore. Everything about it is just perfect. You talked about having, starting from the 16G, the stock turbo, then going to the red, then the black, and now you're on the zero. Why have you stuck with the stock frame turbo over all the years?
So that's a good question, because believe it or not, I've been asked that a lot. Like, why have you not jumped up into the bigger classes and stuff like that? And I think it's because I love the power it makes. I've loved what I've been able to get out of a stock frame turbo. I think it's literally, I've got to the point where I'm just like trying to figure out the limits of it, how far I can go. And I love the turbo. Like, I love the stock appearing. I love how fast it spools. I love how fast it goes. And so that's kind of kept me there. I think trying to, the stock appearing class has also kept me there. Mm-hmm. The car's been literally purposely built for that class. Like, even though I race a lot of the other events up and down the East Coast, at the end of the day, it's a stock appearing drag car.
Right.
So every decision that I've ever made is to keep it within the limits of stock appearing. Because when I started racing stock appearing in 13 and 14, that was a huge class. Like, there was probably, you go to stock appearing, there'd be like 16 cars racing. And so that was the other thing too, is like, it was a lot more competitive way back then, you know. And that was back when I think I won in 13 I was running a 10-2, and I was back with the FP Black. And so I just love that class. That being said, last year when I went, there were 5 people in stock appearing.
Yeah.
This year, I think there was 7, but then only like well, this year I didn't even race to get into the finals. Like, that's the crap part, right? Like, I got a competition bye to get me into the semifinals. Well, then I had a bye run because there was an odd number of competitors in stock appearing. And so I literally went to the finals without having to race. And so now I think this is my last year of stock appearing.
Starting to lose its luster.
And I'm gonna hate how this is gonna come out, but there's not enough competition in it. Like, Mike and Matt Franks right now are the only competition for stock appearing.
Yeah.
You know, so do we want to go out there and race each other every year? Like, it's, and plus I've won it 3 times. Again, I hate how this is sounding because I'm not just
plus you guys
cocky
are, you guys are,
yeah,
you and Matt are from the same team. So, you know, I see what you're saying. It'd be nice to spread it out and see Spec Ops take more. I mean, you guys had Brandon take home a nice runner-up. So I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, we created that team this year too, so that was like another kind of deal that next year when we come, you know, we've already started having talks of like, hey, let's have everybody in different classes and let's see who can compete in what and how well we do. You know, if Matt decides to stay in stock appearing, you know, Matt's going to murder stock appearing. I might bump up to Street Eliminator next year. Brandon's going to stay Q32, I think, or Street 32.
Street 32, yeah.
Yeah, we've got Mike Garvey out in Texas. You know, I don't know. He might do an index class. You know, we've got, you know, a couple other guys that are on the team. It's like, we want to have them also competitive in whatever lane they go.
For sure.
But it goes back to it. It's literally all about the shootout. You know what I mean? So we want to go out there and have somebody in each class and compete against all the best of everyone else and just see where we stand. You know, we've done really well in stock appearing, so now it's time to branch out and see, you know, how well do we do against some of the other guys.
No, I think that's what makes the most sense is, you know, try to have, instead of Spec Ops take home 1 class or 2 class, to spread them all out and take home the entire event.
Yeah, that would be sweet, because I know that it would upset some individuals that are there at the shootout, and it would make it even a little sweeter.
Absolutely.
So,
Jeremy, I wanted to talk about too. You know, you've had this car for a real long time, and you've been able to buy another one and kind of start a more toned back build. But you think, looking back, all the experience you've gained the last 13 years owning this car, that you would build this car the same way?
The answer is absolutely. I don't know, because as I thought about this question, I was like, everything that we did was so intentional and with such a purpose, and then we would just max out the way that we did everything. I don't know that I would change anything. A lot of the stuff that's on the car, some of it was like happenstance, finding somebody in North Carolina that had tubular subframes for dirt cheap, and then jump on them. It's like, oh man, I got to have those. So I don't know that I would do anything different at all, because the car runs so well that I can't imagine going back. Well, what's crazy is there's some parts on the car that have been on the car since 2010.
Jeez.
Like the S3 cams that are on it are like the first cams. Like I've only bought one set of cams for that car ever.
Wow.
And it's the same ones. They're the same ones that are on it, because it's like, okay, what are the best cams that you can buy for these cars?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, GSC S3s. I'm like, bet, that's what we're buying. Throw those in the car.
For them to have lasted that long, I mean, you've definitely got your money's worth on that.
Definitely got my money's worth out of those. I got ISC S2 suspension on it. We got the custom spring rates way back when, and I think that was 2011. I bought the suspension that's on it, and those are the same ones that are on it. So yeah, everything that we've bought, I probably would have bought a dog box a lot earlier than I did, because I've probably bought 4 dog boxes in the time that I've owned that car, with destroying trans and destroying T cases and stuff like that, pushing them to the limit. But yeah, I absolutely don't think there's anything that I would have done different other than buying parts sooner than I did.
That's awesome.
And stuff.
You've probably
that's the bonus of the other car. I bought the car because I needed it. I needed it daily. I was deployed, and I used to have a bug. I had a 72 bug.
Oh, nice.
And my wife accidentally burnt it to the ground.
Oh my God.
When I was deployed. So when I came home, I didn't have a daily anymore, and I was kind of grumbling about it. And the wife was like, hey, you've got all these frickin' parts, Evo parts all over the garage. I think she was joking. She's like, you should just buy another Evo so you can get rid of all those parts. And I was like, say less. So I found the blue one in Virginia, and I paid like $8,000 for it.
No kidding. Jeez.
Yeah, it ran, but it ran like crap. But I didn't care about that because I had the 2.3 stroker kit literally sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I bought that, and everything that's been upgraded on the yellow car, it gets bastardized down to the blue car. So the blue car sits at like 600 horsepower, runs 10s.
Gets all the hand-me-downs.
But it's all hand-me-downs. It is. It's the redheaded stepchild. But she's awesome. My wife drives it 10 times more than I do. But yeah, so that's why I don't think that I would change it, because I said that the yellow car has been purpose-built, and I think we did it right the first time. There was some trials and errors, but like even those were like small ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then, all those extra parts and stuff got transferred over to the blue car. Like one of the biggest things we tried is like the STM 650s came out.
Mm-hmm.
Their Kelford cams. and stuff. And we tried those in the yellow car. And it wasn't that we didn't like them. It was that it was an unfortunate event of like the car wasn't running right. And so we didn't get the full benefit out of them. And so we went back to the S3s, and then I rebuilt the motor and everything worked fine. But then the blue car got a brand new set of STM 650s. So that's kind of how stuff like that worked out. Like we tried on the yellow car. If it didn't work on the yellow car, we put it on the blue car and just keep it that way.
Well, that's good. Keeps you from wasting your money.
Yeah. Yep.
So you hinted at it a little bit, Jeremy, but I want to talk about what the future holds for this car. I mean, we talked about it a little bit at the shootout. I know you talk about how built this car is to go faster than a stock frame is going to take it. So what do you foresee as the plans for this car?
So the way that we built, I mean, the motor's got like aluminum rods, and it's got a custom K1 crank, and it's got custom pistons in it. And so, I mean, the motor has always been built way above the means of the turbo. And I am an FP loyalist. So when I was at the shootout this year, I pulled Robert Young aside and I was like, hey, this is probably the last year I'm doing stock appearing. You know, I want to probably bump up to the next class. You know, what turbo's best for me and stuff. So we threw some ideas around and whatnot. And, you know, I'm also talking to the guys too, you know, like, hey, what do you guys think the next one is? You know, do I go Super 99? Do I go, you know, how crazy do I get and stuff? So we haven't quite narrowed down what turbo I'm going to go with. But 100% an FP turbo. And
a manifold built by you.
I'm definitely going to build my own manifold. Just because I can, and then I think it'll be a great learning process. I've never actually made one yet. So it'll be a lot of good learning and trial and error and whatnot. But yeah, I think I'm going to go forward facing with something as big as I can possibly get, but then still have good power. You know, I'd love, the goal is like a low 8. I would love to be able to compete in World Cup finals.
Absolutely.
I'd love to, and not only compete, but be competitive. You know what I mean? I don't have any grandiose ideas of winning. I mean, those dudes are monsters. You know, I'm just a dude who builds stuff in his backyard.
Right.
But I want to be competitive too. You know, I'm very competitive natured and stuff. So I think I have, you know, our team can definitely make something that would be competitive and stuff. It's just, this car's been stock appearing built for so long that it's going to be weird to kind of change that focus into, all right, how do we get into 8s, you know, low 8s? I don't ever think I'll be a 7-second car. That would be nice, but you never know.
It's crazy to see.
World Cup finals is a thing.
I mean, you know, you've talked about World Cup. You know, we talked about it in person, but I really feel like everyone's goal should be to make the big race at the World Cup.
Yeah.
That's really where you put on the big show. You know, thousands and thousands of people there, just for you guys to be there in front of the crowd and to see that Spec Ops sticker on the back windshield. People are going to be like, wow, who's these people?
Right. And that's, you know, building the brand is kind of a thing that we talk about a lot, you know, because we're known but not known, you know. So I would love to build a competitive Evo. I think I looked this year and I only saw like three Evos that were on the list.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's depressing. I was like, okay, well, they need to have 4 then. And I need to be on the list, you know, and race mate Brandon Mao, we're talking about getting his 1G up at the World Cup finals and stuff. And then, maybe Matt decides next year, like, okay, it's my turn,
Yeah.
So same thing. It'd be great to have, 4 Spec Ops race team guys up at World Cup finals and stuff, if nothing more than just to represent North Carolina and, the special operations here and stuff.
Definitely. And people are coming from all over the world to that race, shipping cars from South Africa and stuff like that. So to put that on the world stage is just, that's really an achievement.
Yeah, I need to go. I want to go to just see it because, these last 2 years have been really the first time I've ever been free to kind of pick and choose a schedule. I don't have any more deployments in my future. I don't have any of that stuff going on. So, we want to go check out like Florida 2K. One of our team members, Mike Garvey, he races, he's going to try to race Texas 2K this year. He's going, he's going through the NHRA paperwork and stuff to get his car all, certified and stuff so he can run Texas 2K. So we want to go down there and support him and kind of figure out what that part is because, those are pretty decent events as well. So if we could have representation in all of these kind of big events and stuff, because, most of us are retired, doing this as our quote unquote hobby,
right,
and stuff. It would be cool to see how all of those work. And then, do we purposely build, do we take my blue car and be like, all right, we're going to make a half-mile monster out of the blue car, or something like that.
That'd be
Don't
killer.
know.
You got a lot up in the a lot to juggle around and work with.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm actually trying to get my wife to race the blue car.
Oh, there you go.
Because again, I swear she drives it better than I do and stuff. So I told her, I was like, yeah, we're gonna start putting you in like 11.0 index class.
There you go.
To get your feet wet and stuff. But if we build like a half-mile monster and stuff, I want to make sure that she's the pilot for that and stuff. So we'll see.
That's killer. I love that. So Jeremy, you've been in the Evo game for a long, long, long time, and you've seen different trends come and go, different part suppliers come and go. If someone out there was building, let's say they have a pretty close to stock Evo, and they're wanting to go a little quicker, what advice would you give them for their build so they don't waste a bunch of money or make some mistakes that maybe you or some other people that might have made over the years?
I think so I'll try to give like maybe 3 or 4. I think the first one is having a goal, right? So when I had Beeline Performance, I'd have people call me and they'd be like, man, I want to make like 800 horsepower. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean to you? Mm-hmm. And so I think being goal oriented, like for me, it was, I wanted to dominate stock appearing, so that was a goal. And then you just kind of build to make that goal. If you want to run, I want a 9-second car. Okay. These are the parts and pieces and things that I think you will need to get there and stuff. 800 horsepower, I'm weird about horsepowers because I hate that, if I'm being honest, man. I don't even know how much horsepower my car makes.
Right.
Never been a horsepower number guy. So I literally have no idea how much my car makes.
Yep.
I know how fast it goes. I don't know. So it's like, I want to make 800 horsepower. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
I love the shirts that you see around the Shootout and World Cup where it says, what's your dyno sheet trap? Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, because I've never, when Spec Ops Motorsports had a dyno, we used it, but we didn't use it for numbers. We used it to tune the car. Exactly. Yeah. So I think my number one thing is to have a goal. And then number two is having a relationship with whomever is going to build and whomever is going to tune the car, because that matters. There's shops out there that will take your money because you're just some random dude, or tune your car and not give a crap about how it drives from stoplight to stoplight. They'll tune it wide open throttle, but then don't care about how it drives. So I think having a relationship with whoever's going to build your car and whoever's going to tune your car is important. And then, man, I think my final one is buy trusted parts, right? Don't buy eBay turbos,
right?
And don't buy, crappy fuel systems and stuff like that. Like really dive into, if you build a relationship with a good shop, then trust that shop knows kind of what they're talking about. My biggest frustration when I had my shop was, what double pumper should I buy? And I would hands down, well, you need to buy an Evo spec double pumper. Well, I heard about, and I'm like, well, then stop. Don't ask my advice. I'm telling you what I know for a fact. Yeah, I know for a fact what works. I've installed and have had to uninstall so many inferior parts that I only recommend superior parts and stuff. So I think trusting guys that actually know stuff. Don't go asking hard parkers about race stuff.
Right.
Don't, you know what I mean? So I think that would be my advice. Or, just be in the scene, go to the Shootout and talk to guys, when you see a badass build, hey, what parts do you run and stuff like that, emulate the guys that are doing it and doing it right, and stuff. I think that would be my advice to those that are building.
Pay attention to what people
Yeah.
are breaking.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
That's, most of the community is super cool. I don't know that I've ever had an unanswered question, and I still have questions. I still don't know everything, so
Stuff's changing all the time.
Man, it's fast too. It's like computers. It's like 3 weeks later, there's something out there that's bigger and better,
right,
and stuff. And then somebody's already tried it and have figured out how to make it work the best and stuff. That's the guy that I want to talk to. Is that something that'll fit my program, fit my goals and stuff like that? So, I follow my own advice. That's why I talk to guys like Robert Young. I'm not talking to some schmo about turbos. I'm talking to the guy.
Right.
Which one do you think is best for me? You know how I race the car. You know what I do. And whatever Robert says, that's the turbo that's going to be on the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because he's the man.
So he starts off a lot of his advice. Well, if it was me, all right, well, that's exactly what I'm doing because.
Yeah, that's all you have to say.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, man, that'd be my advice to anybody who's building and stuff. It's just look at those guys that are doing it right. The Ben Hotchmans, the race, the RRT guys, the boosting guys. They all have it figured out. And so, what are they doing? And emulate that as best you can. You want to. It sounds dumb, but again, I don't want to sound. If you want to know how to do stock appearing, if that's your goal, then you need to see what Mike Rubin's doing. You need to see what Matt Franks is doing. You need to see what I'm doing. And that'll build you a badass stock appearing car.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. People have said it many times on this podcast, you know, what's your advice? Talk to the people who are out there being successful doing it.
Yeah, talk to the racers. Exactly.
So, Jeremy, what events can we see the Killer Bee in action for the rest of this year and into 2024?
I think the rest of the year, this year, we're going to focus on. So, I was so disappointed when I messaged you the other day, and I was like, world record, because I thought for sure that was it. And so I think we're going to focus the rest of the year on trying to run that 9-1 with the setup that I have.
Yeah. That's killer.
And again, if it takes the rest of the year, we're gonna figure it out. My 60 foot right now is absolutely killing me. We're pretty sure that it's my 13-year-old suspension. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board to try to figure out some stuff and try to get the world record, the actual world record for stock frame turbo.
Hell, man, you probably break that one, and then somebody else will come out. Well, what about this one? God. Dang,
oh my God. Yeah. What's funny about that is I'm telling you, I asked for years. I had been on the FP. I've been on all the four. And just what the hell's the record? And all I ever heard was 9.44. And I was like, there was a rumor of a 933, but I could never find a slip. I could never find a video. I could never find this thing. So I thought 944 was it and stuff. And even talking to, some other people, they thought that was it. So I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who thinks that this is the line in the sand that needs to be crossed. Then when I crossed it, and then it was like, oh no, this is it. And it's like, boom, everyone has this information that nobody had, a year ago. So, but it's whatever.
Kept quiet about.
Yeah, I've got the fastest 0, I think. I haven't seen an FP0 faster than my time.
Yep, I think you're right there.
Yeah, not only quickest CT, but mile per hour for sure. But the goal has been forever to, I always write on my hashtags, 8s or bust. Like I would love to run an 899 with the 0.
Mm-hmm.
If I can cut a 1.3 60 foot, it's happening. If I can cut a 1.4 60 foot, it's happening. So that's what we're going to focus on for the rest of this year. And then next year is changing the turbo setup. Definitely going to the shootout again next year. We always hit the streetcar takeovers. They run 2 or 4 of those a year around here. They go to Z-Max, and they also go to Rockingham, which is our home track. Gonna hit the import face-offs. They do 2 of those a year around here, so we're gonna hit those.
Love those.
And then we do a lot of the local events. We go down to Darlington in South Carolina. They host a lot of street car shootouts and stuff. And then I said, if by a miracle we can slap this new turbo in and I start seeing low 8s, then I would love to, out of nowhere, try for World Cup finals next year.
Heck yeah.
I think that's the race we're going to put up on the board and be like, all right, that's what we're shooting for. How the hell do we get there?
Yeah.
And then the team will all come together and be like, all right, here's what we need to do, and then it'll be full force trying to get there. Because I think if we shoot for that, and even if we miss it next year, it'll definitely make us extremely competitive in the shootout next year.
Yeah.
So I think that's the plans for next year, man. Just continue to get out. We would love to build the team some more. Because we've got an Evo 10, we got a bunch of Evo 8s, 9s, we've got a 1G DSM, we got an STI on the team. We've got a stinger on the team and stuff. So we're, so we want to grow the team too. We have this philosophy, and we say it all the time that 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And bringing more people on the team brings more knowledge and expertise, and changes our perspective in a lot of the ways we race. So yeah, we would love next year to build. We're gonna stay import.
Right.
We're not gonna have Mustangs and crap like that on our team and stuff. And I don't know if we'll have any. I'm not a big Honda fan, but we'll see and stuff. But love to get more Evos. Love to get more DSMs. We've got another 1G DSM guy that's local. Been a friend of ours for a long time. He's finally getting his car together.
Killer.
And stuff. So we might be bringing him on as well. We'll see. But yeah, man, that's the future.
Love that. So, Jeremy, where can people find and follow the Killer Bee on all the social medias?
So one of my biggest faults, man, is I'm not a big social media guy. But on Instagram, if you look up Spec Ops Fabrications, it's spelled just like that, Spec Ops Fabrications. That's where I post all of not only the stuff that I'm doing in the welding world with, custom Evo parts. It's also where I post all the videos and things that we're doing with the car. I do need to get better about post stuff like that. We do have a Facebook page. Spec Ops Race Team has a Facebook page. If they just look up Spec Ops Race Team, we try to keep that updated with everything that we're doing, builds, upcoming events, stuff like that. So that's another place to go. And yeah, man, that's it.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, I know you got
podcasts.
What's that?
Check us out on your podcast, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to get all the, we're going to try to get most of the Spec Ops guys on here for a group one, but we're also going to do a separate one with Brandon, a separate one with Matt. Well, hopefully I haven't reached out to Matt yet. I was going to wait until after Brandon and I did one, so we didn't just have Evo, 1G
right.
back-to-back, so spread it out a little bit.
To me today, he was like, yo, I did it. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I love it for him. He deserves it.
Yep. He sent an update right here as we're talking.
Oh, nice.
Jeremy, I know you got a lot of people behind you, helping the race team and helping you push your car. And, you got Matt as a tuner and you got a bunch of other guys doing helping you out with the wrenching and stuff. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
Well, holy crap. If it wasn't so my wife and I have been married for, I swear to God, like 60, 70 years at this point. We were junior high sweethearts.
No way.
So, yeah, bro. So we've been married forever. So, my wife is my backbone, my rock, Robin. I love you. And, if it wasn't for her putting up with all of my crap and late nights, and like she's never ever given me shit about going to the track if something breaks, and I'm stressing about the money, she's like, we'll figure it out and stuff. So yeah, she's my number one cheerleader, and definitely someone that deserves a lot of
that's so awesome
credit for putting up with me. And then yeah, man, the whole Spec Ops race team, we get together all the time. Brandon, Tim, Mike, Devin, Holden, James. We, man, at the drop of a hat, if I need something, they cruise over and we get stuff done. Robert Young, I've said it a million times, his mentorship and advice and guidance throughout all of these years has been, I couldn't have asked for a better guy out there to support some of the things that I've done in racing. I mean, he's come through when I destroyed a turbo, the guy, call him up and he's like, I got you. Like, same thing. Anytime I've ever needed anything, he's been there right away. Dan Mergenthaler, that guy, when he had the yellow Evo, I was constantly hitting him up. Hey, Dan, same when I said, get advice from the guys that have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Dan was one of those guys that I would call and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm trying to do this. And same thing. As busy as Dan is, with running Evo Spec and being a family man and stuff like that, he takes time out of his busy day and squares me away with whatever I'm trying to figure out, no matter how dumb it is. I didn't talk about him much, but like Trevor at Shep, he's a fellow vet that works there at Shep Trans. And when I was having all of my T-case dog box issues and trying to get that stuff rebuilt and stuff, he was awesome when it came to getting my stuff squared away. Same thing, answering a bunch of questions. Found out I was running the wrong T-case in the race car, and basically I was running a stock T-case in the race car and a racing T-case in my blue car.
Oh, really?
And didn't even realize it. Sent him the serial numbers on the T-cases, and he was like, bro, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, shit, didn't know. So, stuff like that. Got to swap them out so I could have the right T-case in the right car. It's one of the maybe downfalls of having two Evos, but yeah. So Trevor at Shep was huge when I had this last really big blowout where I destroyed the rear diff, dog box, T-case, tried to give it all the torque, and I paid the price and stuff. So that's it, man. Just the guys in the community, guys that are competitive. Mike, I met him last year. Ruben, I'll give a shout out to him and his team. When you find people that are competitive, it makes you better. So like we went into this year, like we're gonna go down there and we're gonna destroy Mike Rubin. As much as we love the dude, because again, he is the most humble, cool ass dude on the planet. But then on your competitive side, but we want to crush him.
Right.
So
that's the mentality you gotta have.
Yeah, having people out there like that make you better and stuff. So yeah, definitely shout out to Mike Rubin and his guys. And then, man, I cannot go without saying, Josh, that you fucking deserve a huge shout out from me as well, man. Because you do more for the community than I think people realize. Whether it's getting information out, your fucking lists are awesome. What you did for the shootout last year and stuff, you and Dan, and raising that big pot and stuff. You do not get the credit that you deserve for how much you made the shootout. Because I went last year and there was nobody there, and I went this year and it was freaking packed.
Yeah.
And if anyone is trying to say it's not because of your effort, they can get bent, because man, with all your locked in posts, I mean, you go above and beyond for free. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing locked in stuff. Like, what you do for the community, man. Guys like me, true racers, man. We appreciate it more than we can express to you, brother. So I do. You're my last and final shout out, man.
I greatly appreciate it. It makes it all worth it.
Hell yeah.
Well, Jeremy, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I know we've only known each other for a couple of years, but every time I see you, it feels like I've known you my whole life. So I'm so glad that we got a chance to come on here and do this.
Yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to it, and I'm glad I got to do it, man. So I can't wait to see you next year.
Yes, sir.
And definitely throughout the year, but we'll keep in touch, and as the build progresses for what I plan on doing next year, man, I'm gonna definitely, I'll pick your ear too, man. Because like I said, no, all knowledge is good knowledge. as far as like, hey, what's the good word on the street, man?
Yeah.
What are you hearing?
I got
stuff.
a big,
so I know
big database of information I can pull from.
Yeah, man. So, but yeah.
Well, Jeremy, thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Hopefully, I'll see you World Cup here in about a month.
All right, brother. Appreciate it, man.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the MitsuTimes podcast. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. Get added to our list by going to MitsuTimes.org and clicking Submit a Slip. Thank you to all of our sponsors.